and I'm honored to our current space as we thoughtfully reimagine the new home we will build together. Jewish tradition takes very seriously the obligation to take care of the collective, whether within these walls or outside them. And so the blessing we use to start every synagogue meeting, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al tzarchei tzidkenu. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who commands us to take care of the community. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you Nick Anderson, managing partner of Fern Hill, and Matt Wiley, principal of Eckenhoff, Saunders. Gentlemen.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here. I'm Nick Anderson with Fern Hill.
Matt Wiley, Eckenhoff Saunders Architects.
So today's presentation for synagogue members is to continue really the announcement first made in early June at the annual meeting that the synagogue was committed to sort of reimagining and re-envisioning your home here. And this is sort of the continuation of that process. In interest of being transparent, collaborative, open book with the community at large, who's very interested in your plans and our plans. This video or this meeting is a hybrid, and so we're also recording it, and it's on. We have, let's see, 60 online folks, some of whom may be members that just couldn't make it in person. But again, we wanted as a gesture of sort of being collaborative with the surrounding community, sort of have this initial, this conversation of the next steps of the design process and the concept. So, thank you for being here in person, and for everyone that's online, thank you for joining us. We hope that this is informative, exciting, and fun. So we'll jump into it. Okay.
Oh shit.
So on the Zoom, can maybe someone in the chat just make sure that this is working correctly? Can you see the screen? Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. We will keep going. So format.
Hi, Austin.
We'll
I'm
talk
listening
just
to a
little bit
stupid meeting. Every other word is.
Jane, mute.
Just
Jane,
because there may
mute
also
yourself.
be some of your own members, but also the public at large, just to sort of level set. We want to start at 60,000 feet and sort of work our way down to the ground level of things. So we'll talk about the site in a historical context, the site priorities and programming goals. And then that leads into sort of site logistics conversations of how can the site work, and we'll roll that into the concept, program, and floor plans that Matt will go over. Very everyday things that we need to solve, like parking and drop off logistics.
Nick, could you use the microphone, please?
I will.
Want me to help you do that? Okay.
Sure. And then we'll show the floor plans for the synagogue, along with the lobby concepts, sanctuary concepts, and next steps. And then we'll open it up in the room for a Q&A session. The meeting will also be shared, a link to this online through the Alderman's office, or we'll be emailing these directly to people that reach out to us. And it's just the start of the process. So we already went through partner introductions. So just in terms of our roles, Eckenhoff Saunders is an architecture firm. Fern Hill is a development company, and we're together advising the synagogue on its future plans. So Again, a brief history, and many of the members here know this, but for those online that may be just finding Emanuel congregation for the first time, I did want to sort of put this in context of how we ended up here today. So, the synagogue was founded a very long time ago in 1880. But a group of members purchased the land site that we're on today in 1944. And at the time, there were roughly 1,000 plus member households. Oops, sorry. And the existing synagogue was constructed in 1955. So a very long time ago. It was, or is, 34,000 square feet. And the reason why there's a picture of Lakeshore Drive is because that was a seminal sort of fact at the time that the synagogue planned for Lakeshore Drive in the late 40s and early 50s to actually run past the synagogue property on the east side, which is now lakefront, and that in 1955, like a little after 1955, it was announced that Lakeshore Drive would stop at Hollywood, and so here we are today, 80 years later. So that sort of, even though it was 80 years ago, that's still something that sort of affects the synagogue today, and sort of how the building is positioned on the site, and really the broader Edgewater neighborhood as a whole, because a lot of the issues that both the synagogue deals with, but the broader community on traffic, congestion, are really stem from 80 years ago, Lakeshore Drive deciding to end at Hollywood and not continuing past this neighborhood to Rogers Park or all the way to Evanston. So it's just interesting that something so long ago is so relevant today, and really changes how we look at the site. You know, I couldn't help, we think about sort of the future, but I wanted to put a graph of how different things would be today if in fact Lakeshore did extend. And a lot of how the site is set up today makes a lot more sense when you actually see a highway on the backside, because the building really does turn itself to the lake. Which today we think of as just so very counterintuitive, but you know, 80 years ago, the members were really planning for a totally different future of circumstances that they thought were coming. So there was a single access point to the northwest corner, which is how you come into the front of the building and parking today. So again, just sort of looking back for a moment before, you know, we you know, talk about where we've been before we talk about where we're going. For those maybe listening online that are not very familiar with the site, there's a lot of hard edges. There's a lot of activity that's happening around the synagogue's property. Sheridan Road to the west is very busy. The top right hand picture is the main access gate from Sheridan. To the north of the property is pretty hard line with a very small site with a single family home, and then a very large condo building to our north. On the south and east side of the property, it's a little softer. You can sort of see there's more green, the lakes to the east, the beaches to the south. So there is sort of a dichotomy of harsh Sheridan Road and urban landscapes to the west and to the north. And then that quickly transitions into much more serene and nature areas. Very, very high level, this is looking at the piece of land, which is roughly 64,000 square feet, and the shaping of the building that's on here today. It's relatively a large footprint building covering the whole site, but not particularly efficient. And so what sort of this represents for you all and for us is the ability to completely reimagine your future. So as opposed to looking at what is, it's really looking at what could be. The programming goals that you all have been thinking about include your informal gathering space, worship and multi-use spaces, classrooms and administration, and back of house things like kitchen and storage and technology, and of course, parking. And so it's for us, it's finding not only what needs to be programmed into your site, but also where it needs to be. And you know, not to bury the lead, but this is what's most important. Sort of the main objective is really undoing the 1950 decision to turn the synagogue from the lake to instead re-engage with Lake Michigan and embrace the lakefront. And so it's also an opportunity to right size for today's members, the size of the synagogue, the types of programming, and the simple move, which you'll see when I pass it off to Matt, is shrinking the footprint and moving it all the way east to be on the southeast corner, predominantly of the site, the best corner, engaging the lake, overlooking the beach with the skyline in the background. So the next piece of that is that's sort of, again, 60,000 feet, Lakeshore Drive, the site elements and where the majority of this programming wanted to find itself. And then that's sort of the easier piece. And so of course I handed off to the architect to figure out the harder piece of it, which is the challenge is now how do we fit everything in that box and what are the issues that we hit in terms of site logistics, access, pedestrian experience, parking. And so that's what Matt's here to cover now.
Thank you, Nick. I'm gonna stand and see. I go this way, so I'll probably use the pointer. Hi, yeah, I'm working on the best corner of the site, so I feel pretty lucky. Saunders, you saw our name flash up there, and I introduced myself at the beginning. We are a practice that is fortunate to work in faith-based communities for many, many years here, and I've had the privilege of working on the vast majority of them. You see several on the screen. Bernard Zell, we did some work there. A variety of synagogues on the North Shore. In the lower left corner is one of our most recent projects, which is the ARC, which is on North California. Provides social services to the Jewish community. So a variety of projects throughout the years that we were able to share and work with Nick on. Here's a couple of recent projects. One for Old St. Pat's actually is a couple of years old, but it's a partnership between a developer and a religious entity for the mutual benefit of each. It works great, and we had experience in it. The Zion Woods in Deerfield, I'm particularly proud of because that's my church. And as our church grappled with the same issues that you are grappling with, perpetuate in a sustainable way, stay vibrant, be true to mission. We had a nice piece of property and we wound up selecting development of an affordable housing project, which opened this year and it's full. So it's great to have the opportunity to be working in partnership with a developer. Here is the expanse of our faith-based practice. So cover a lot of territory here in Chicago, from the way south side up and out to Barrington and up in Lake Forest. And I think the next slide is showing our focus on Jewish projects listed off to the side here. When we first interviewed for the project, we asked a couple of very high levels, 60,000 square feet, that's where we are, 60,000 square foot questions. But when it comes to planning, you need to drop that deck just a little bit more and ask questions that are drivers of design. And so we took those high level questions and translated them into principles or questions that would drive the design forward. What is the level of connectivity between Emanuel and its community, however that's defined, the community in Sheridan Road, community at large? How do we want to be connected? The views of Lake. Nick has already talked about decisions made once upon a time were done for right reasons, but times have changed, circumstances have changed. How does that change how we connect with the assets of the site, the lake and the city? Site and pedestrian access, true for everything. How do we get there? How close does it need to be? Do we be a little bit further back, certainly the southeast corner of the site? We'll have to figure out a logical way for people to find you. Internal functionality is the program. How do the spaces fit? What is their right size? How do they need to be different from what we've been living in for this period of time? Security and omnipresent and growing concern. What is the right level of security while still remaining open to the people that you're in service to? And then the last one is integrating with the rest of whatever might develop on the property in terms of residents. Everything starts with the program and numbers, a little bit dry, but absolutely necessary housekeeping. It defines the target. You may decide to move the target as development goes on, and priorities evolve through ongoing discussion, but you've got to start somewhere. And so you guys gave us a program. We evolved that a little bit, and that program is what is manifest in the diagrams that are going to follow. Okay, yeah, 200 feet. It's a ways away from Sheridan Road. Your front door is basically right off of Sheridan Road now. So we have to figure out a strategy for how to get people to you, have to be comfortable. And we've got a couple of diagrams here coming up that have our best thinking on that. We've taken the photograph of the site, overlaid it with just a diagram covering the site. The strategy, the Emanuel congregation footprint that we have right now is what's shown in, what are we calling that, orange or beige, depending on how your camera looks at it. That's the footprint of the southeast position for Emanuel on the site. The strategy for the site access here, particularly for Emanuel, is utilizing the Thorndale and North Sheridan Road signalized intersection. It's got a traffic signal there that regulates how people move. It simplifies, it provides safety, simplifies wayfinding and provides safety. And we, in discussion, think that the city of Chicago will ultimately tell us that we really want you to use that as your connection point. So we just sort of leaned into that from the beginning. So what we're showing here is actually to access Emanuel, you would take a turn to the east toward the lake and take a very, very, very short ride on Thorndale before you would then turn right again into the middle of the site. You'll see the two arrows. Oh, sorry, to the left, thank you, yeah. To the left. Probably won't, I'll probably do that again. Turn into basically the center of the property. The arrow that's shown to the left-hand side is actually taking you from grade level, from street level, up to the main level where Emanuel's main level would be into a drop-off spot. And the arrow that's to the right is an arrow that would take you to Emanuel parking, as yet at this point unexplored. But all of that access would be off of the Sheridan and Thorndale intersection. If you go to the very top, you will also see that at the north end of Emanuel congregation, it says service and loading. Right now, a little bit north of where your current curb cut is, there would be a service entrance right here. And all of the service to Emanuel and whatever else develops on the property would be at that far. It would be, as we imagine it, at least today, a right in for northbound traffic and a right out to northbound traffic. There would not be the ability for someone to try to migrate southbound on Sheridan, given the issues of traffic there, that would be real complicated. Emanuel's pedestrian entry would be right alongside where their auto access would be. via stairs right in that location. And at grade level, there would be an accessible entrance that would provide an elevator for that grade change. What I, oh, okay. This is the second level of the access diagram. You can see if you come up that ramp, you come into what we're calling an auto court right in the center of the site. But the actual physical entry for Emanuel is here off of that auto court. At this level, which is the second level, there is a variety of green space and landscape space on the outside of the building. And the footprint for the congregation at this level is, I guess it's the same on both the second and third floor. All right. And here you see them side by side. That's the strategy for access. It's really simple. It maximizes the use of the signalized intersection. It doesn't introduce more curb cuts on Sheridan, which is already an issue. So I think we've done a decent job here at the first shot at it of managing one of the problems that exist in the area, which is the traffic on Sheridan. Jumping into the plan diagrams themselves, you can see the auto court here, the main entrance to the synagogue is here. And because the desire is to reconnect with the lake, we weren't going to hold anybody in suspense any longer. You've already gone up a ramp and through an auto court, might as well go ahead. And so right off of that lobby space is, or right off of that entrance is a lobby space that looks all the way through the lake. And you'll see a view of that later in the presentation. For ease of wayfinding and for hospitality, the administrative suite is directly off of that, direct line of sight to the door. And so as guests arrive, they can be greeted appropriately. There's imagining significant lounge space there. Before this meeting, I was walking around and seeing some of the artwork on the walls. Certainly some of that will find a home in that lobby space. So even though it will be new, they'll have elements that are familiar to you all. The building is, of course, a little corridor on this main level, really runs along the west side. And off of that, you have access to the social hall, which is subdivisible with a vertically retracting operable wall, a little bit different than what you have now. And at the end, you have your sacred spaces, the sanctuary at that far southeast corner, and a chapel at the southwest corner. If you were to go all the way to the end of that corridor, you have the opportunity to step outside on a city view deck that wraps behind the sanctuary and wraps along the lakefront, so you would be able to be outside and enjoy the weather and view of the lake. And if you kept going, you'd actually re-enter the building through a gallery space here and back to the lobby. So a fairly simple approach and a linear organization. The restrooms and other support spaces are shown in that west corner of the property. Questions? Yes.
Can you hold it for, we'll get through the whole thing and then we'll come back with questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thanks.
Come to the second level, next to this slide. Well, while he does that, there's a grand stair in the middle of the plan that connects directly up to that next level. The significant space on the location space shown here. There is an open space that connects to the lobby below, so that when you're in the lobby right on the lake, you are in a multi-story space. But largely, the north end is entirely educational in nature. The two blue areas here are really just the upper level of the social hall below. It's a two-story space, so you're seeing it twice. Same for the sanctuary, the same for the chapel. We do have some administrative space, minor administrative space on the second level in this plan. I think we've already heard some discussion about maybe wanting to bring that together on the first floor, so that the entire staff is together. And then some support spaces and AV booths, some miscellaneous storage, along that upper corridor. So the plan between the main level and the second level, similar in organization. We get a nice side by side, and that's pretty evident when you put them next to each other. Again, the central stair is right here. And right here, connecting those.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you mention was that the other beige or orange corner? Did you say something about that space? Yeah.
This is the chapel.
Okay, you did say. Oh,
Yeah,
Sorry.
you've got a really nice chapel. You now have a really nice view in that chapel. Let's not lose that. Just because we're gonna recreate it, let's do it again. So. That is something we added to the program that wasn't initially. Okay, so you're getting a peek at a view from Thorndale. So you're coming from the southwest, kind of looking into the center of the site. We've got a diagram here that shows kind of where that view is going. If you're standing on Thorndale, you can see this car is headed up to the auto port on the second level. This car is deciding it's gonna go to park somewhere. Yet to be determined how that fully works out. Off they go into the start. If you're arriving on foot, you would actually go up the stairs right next to that. And then circulate up to the main entrance that's at the north end of that corridor. And if you needed an elevator to enter, you would enter. Not up those stairs, of course, but around the corner, there would be an elevator connection right there. Here you've got, you can see that the synagogue level is really at level 2. And so this, skyline terrace is up at that level, provides great view and security when you're outside. Okay, we got up to the second level and here we are. We're standing in the northwest corner, looking back at the main entrance for Emanuel, which is right here. You can see there's plenty of room to circulate around. There's a couple of spaces for drop off and for sort of short-term parking. A little bit of green space up at that level, and here's that same red car coming up. Take a turn, pick somebody up and drop somebody off. This is for education and lounge space on level 2. We imagine that there'll be some sort of welcoming art piece as a part of this glass front. And in between this mass, which is clad in stone, and the chapel clad in stone, is a secure outdoor under a trellis garden on that east side, providing some really nice natural light into that long corridor that is serving the main spaces. And a lot of happy people. There's a lot of happy people in the autumn. Okay, if we walked in the front door, this is what you're greeted by. A nice open lobby with art, either from here or that you would purchase and bring, or other important things that you want to greet people with. And a direct view out to the water. Plenty of social space just off camera to the left is the administrative suite. So if you needed help when you arrived, they'd be right there to help. Here off the right hand side, you're seeing that long corridor that takes you down to doors that would take you out onto the terrace. If you were there for an educational function, you would just go straight up the stairs, and all the educational spaces directly above you. Above the lobby. Ooh. This is where it starts, at least for me anyway, when someone says, hey, what does it want to be? You grab a pen and it's like 20 cents of tissue paper. So all these ideas start with 20 cents of tissue paper. And you just start going at it and say, well, what do we want it to feel like? What do we want it to look like? And so this is the sketch that we started with, and if you go back, that's what it winds up like. So we're in the fun zone for sure doing this. Doesn't always feel like it, but at that moment, it sure does. Familiar space for you now. Beautiful art, beautiful stained glass. It actually took me a while to figure out what this was, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, of course, that's what this is. And so, I really love the composition, and it's one of the most beautiful arts I've seen. So I'm like, okay, maybe we should lean into that a little bit, so. So this is a view that we have facing, in the new sanctuary space, facing east, where it's the same composition, but not. The lake has been added where there currently is your wall of Jerusalem stone. We would design, or you would have an artist design some sort of new eternal light, but maybe one that remembers the space that you're leaving. We're not gonna change this at all. We're just going to care for it while buildings under construction and then replace it right where it belongs. And your arc with the lake as the backdrop. Simple, clean, the exact opposite of the internal look that you've had, a completely external in this case. Toward the south, because, oh, there you go. For the south, we would have a wall that would be, you don't want that to be an unpleasant, that sunshine to be unpleasant, so we would have curtains and things to control the glare, really in both directions, but you see it featured here. Okay. And that's the starting doodle for the whole thing. Something else that we imagine, when I say we, I mean myself, the rest of our team, which includes an interior designer. Has anyone heard of James Terrell?
Yeah.
He's an artist that works, does mystical things with lighting. And they mentioned that when they saw the sketch and said, really, this is what we need. We haven't figured exactly out how to do it because it's a little bit down the road, but it's something that's rolling around in the back of our team's mind that we would add as a layer to what the space is currently. So very excited about that. A question came up earlier about, hey, what if we're facing east here? What about high holidays, right? The social hall spaces, the door in between and the door between there and the sanctuary would come off. And we would install a temporary bema at this south end. And things would move for that period of time. And then for the rest of the year, you'd be back in this more normal orientation. And there's all of it kind of together in one piece. Nick would tell you, but I'll tell you now, we're at sort of a plateau, right? If we're working conceptually, we've done a certain amount of work, but there is so much more development to a concept like this that has to come. Getting more precise with the program, taking a better catalog of the artwork and the things that need to show up here. Drill in on individual spaces and talk with folks about what those need to become. What detail elements, what pieces of equipment, what sort of work flows need to be accommodated. So all those, everything you just saw is gonna continue to change as time goes on and we do more work together.
Thank you, Matt. So we can open this up for some questions and go refer back to slides if you wanted to jump into any additional details. But we want to make sure we have this presentation before you enter your busy season and have all of your members here in person, that may not be here through, on a weekly basis throughout the whole year, so. Our goal was to sort of have enough of a baseline site plan, internal programming, some renderings, to allow all of your members to have these in-person conversations now and sort of talk with a little, more specificity about, tweaking this program, their thoughts on site access, site orientation, size of rooms, types of programming. So this is really to, again, be the first piece of enabling you to feel comfortable with your concept plan. After you go through that process and gather feedback from your members, the next step of the process, now that the synagogue portion of this site is really being set and fixed, is everything else that has to get figured out on the site, other uses that might be possible, then get studied. And I know I'm speaking not only to folks in the room, but folks online. I know a lot of people are anxious about what that could look like, residential, other uses, no other uses, and then as well, the project density, building height, things like that. We'll get to that, they're coming, they haven't been designed, we're trying to go about this process a little bit different, as opposed to just coming out with something and saying, here's what we think is right for you, and here's what we think is right for the community. We're sort of saying, well, let's first figure out what the synagogue wants, and then let's work with the community, figure out what else is possible for the site, so. That's the process, again, it's a little bit of a journey that we're all on here. If there's any questions you have on this presentation, and to those online as well, you can email the development team. We've set up an email address just for this project, edgewater@fernhillcompany.com. Or if you'd rather reach out to the synagogue directly, this is their general email as well. Again, we'll open it up for question and answer from in the room. If anyone has any questions, we can answer. And then online, if we have time left, I'll try to look at questions that might be entered into the Q&A. If we can, but we'll try to focus on people in the room, so.
So when I was looking at the illustrations of the exterior, and everything is beautiful, by the way, and it's really exciting. It looks like there will be nothing in the airspace above the synagogue. Is that correct?
To this right? So the answer is, there could be, there could not. The next piece of the process is looking at all of the different massing options to include other uses on the site. The synagogue footprint relatively is less than half of the footprint of the entire site. It's almost 2 acres of land, and the footprint is 20,000 square feet or so. So there's a huge amount of real estate left to unlock value for the synagogue to pay for this, right? To build your synagogue, right? So it's up to sort of us to work with the community and leadership in the community, the alder's office and the city departments. And we will be studying for everyone different ways that we could shape that density. A single building that's completely separate from the synagogue, or do we look at more of a mixed use building? Is it one structure, is it 2 structures? All of those possibilities we plan to present. And not because we think one of them is a particularly correct answer, but that there are many answers to that question. But that's the next step of it. We haven't done that yet. We really wanted the synagogue's plan to be the tail that wags the dog, and not, right? So.
We like that.
Yes.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
Are you looking at purchasing the Janulius space?
Good question. So if you.
What's the question? Are you looking at purchasing the Janulius house,
Yeah,
which is
so,
the
and,
blue house.
yeah, so the question was, and for those online, just in case the microphone didn't pick it up,
Right.
are we looking at the site to the north? So personally, I would love for that site to be involved with the overall plan. It's not currently, so we don't have any contractual over control, but, my door would be completely open to working with them to see if, it would make sense to incorporate that parcel, which will sort of be between two big structures, sort of landlocked. But they're under no obligation to do so, and, but yeah, so.
Okay, I just. It's thrown out.
And as you can see for the site plan itself, getting to the site, and I'll go back to. The ground floor, all the way back to the site access plan. No, I'll keep going. Here. So. To the north, the far top of this slide, you can see the little house. The blue house, as people call it, in the neighborhood. The access point to the north for the synagogue, the service entrance is sort of where your existing curb cut is to come in to the north side there. So we're sort of planning on going along the property line. If the blue house ended up being involved in this, it would give a little bit more flexibility to site logistics. You know, we can move the access point further north, or we could pick up more efficient parking layouts for the ground floor of the project. But it wouldn't ostensibly change the location of the synagogue, how you're oriented on the site. It's sort of, it makes the back of house more flexible, but will not affect anything that we've shown from the synagogue's perspective. Yes.
The diagram, was maybe, are you thinking of maybe not having the chapel be round? And are you thinking more of it looking like the other structure? Main structure? It's not allowed.
Go to.
Yeah, the question was, are we thinking that the chapel, which is currently round, maybe is not round in this version? The answer is yes, we are thinking that. But like I said, we're at the beginning of a design process, even though this looks done, it's not even close. So conversation will continue on that, and if ultimately there is a driving desire for there to be curved geometry, whether it's a circle or something else, that there is plenty of space in the process to come to explore that. But right now, we're showing it not curved.
Thank you. It's the first floor, the ground level floor, is it like basement storage? You haven't mentioned anything down there, you're just not having anything on the ground floor?
So the question was, what is the ground floor of the project? The short answer is parking.
That's why.
Yeah.
How much parking can go around?
I think the goal is to at least have the same amount of parking you have today, and then explore how efficiently we could lay out to exceed that. So at least 40, but it's, you know, for religious institutions, it's hard because you have the parking demand on a normal week, and then you have these very large annual events where it's almost, you know, insurmountable parking to fulfill. So yeah.
This is the ground level, right? And then you pull up from the second level, that's the like, then go to the second.
Yes.
Okay, so people enter the left building, then they have to walk to, oh, that's on the front. They have to just walk a little bit to the.
Yes, so to get to the site, assuming you're being dropped off in a car, right? You're coming on Thorndale heading east. you turn left to go up the ramp to the second floor auto court. And then the synagogue entrance is to your right. You would get out of your car, and then the car could turn around and go back down the ramp down to the ground level. Yes.
On your service entrance, is it big enough for the trucks to go in and then turn around and is that where your garbage?
Yes, so for site access, there is a clear front of house, clear back of house, so loading, garbage, deliveries, all of that is happening. Pull in internal circulation underneath, on that ground floor. And then as they exit the site, they would have turned around inside the site and they'd be driving straight out, so there's no trucks backing out onto Sheridan, right?
Is there a way to enter the kitchen, without the lobby?
Repeat the question too.
Currently, no.
It's
a good question. And I'll say that we've answered it at least twice. And differently. A previous version of the plan had an elevator that was directly off the lot. And a back door to that elevator would go directly into the kitchen. That's what I thought. I thought that was, hey, this is. But it was very front and center in the lobby also. So there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
And I think for what you're seeing on screen now, that's not what we have shown in the lobby. If you remember, that rendering did not. So we.
Sound is breaking up, guys.
Sounds breaking off.
I don't know if it's the microphone, but we can't hear.
Yeah, those of us on Zoom can't hear you. We can't see you either.
Functionality that was manifested in your program, which happens to just be on levels 2 and 3. We know we have work to do, and I've got just as many, no, I have 10 times more tissue sketches of how the ground floor might work than just those sketches of your sanctuary and the lobby. It's a very complicated problem, but we took the whole thing and set it aside to focus on.
Absolutely.
the way it was designed.
It's just something, you know.
It's a great
I
idea.
understand
It's a
why.
great idea.
It's a good idea. We don't wanna really be dragging crap. to the
Yeah, once you've moved in, right, move in is a separate discrete thing. You're not moving furniture or something in all the time. What are you moving in? What are? You're moving in food. You're moving in, maybe a dance floor, maybe you're moving in audio and music equipment, and you'd like to do it from a place that's
Doesn't,
not at the south end.
right, not walking through the lobby.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
So, everything we've seen so far is really gorgeous and stunning, and I'm thrilled about the stained glass windows. I'm thrilled about all the windows actually, and I guess my question may be hammering down farther than we can at this time. We have had security breaches here, not in the recent past, but we did have, people come in through the Michigan room, break in, set a Torah scroll on fire. This was a number of years ago, but it did happen. And we have had some other people try to breach through windows and doors. So that would be one of my concerns.
It's a good concern.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah. In essence, what thought has been given to security at this point in time? It's been our thought. It hasn't necessarily been in tandem with another consultant that we would normally have on a team like this that specializes, right? Whether that's camera technology or access control. or threat assessment, which is something that starts those processes. We haven't gotten to that point, but it's a very valid concern, you know. In our process, when we look at the auto court view, let's say, how much is the right amount of glass? You want to be open and receiving and bright, but maybe that's not the ultimate answer. Maybe that wall needs to be closed or just have much openings in it ultimately. Those are bridges we will definitely cross. I did have some discussion as this rendering was being prepared about, is there something we should be showing from a security standpoint in the auto court that would deter an automobile access? Ultimately, I don't really like stanchions, I think they could be rocks, boulders, landscape, you know, things of that sort. But ultimately,
Yeah.
those are pleasurable design studies that are in the future, but ultimately they'll be based on some consulting that will be rolled into the team.
Yeah.
Will answer that.
I just want to add a sort of a supplement. I had that feeling looking at the sanctuary. I mean, I think it's magnificent and I love the idea of having the lake behind the ark and everything. But that would still be kind of private space. It's that view to the south that just feels, and you know, there's a lot of solutions to this kind of thing. Not even a matter of, hate to say it, people, you know, climbing in windows, people shooting in windows, you know, I mean, these are all things unfortunately that are reality
True
for us, and it might be ways that you come up with that make the openness optional at times, like window treatments or whatever. I'm sure there are solutions to it. My reaction was like, I winced, literally, you know, thinking about that right side that I spoke.
We did at one point show there, you know, guardrail height is like 42 inches.
Mhm.
Can you
Yeah,
go
I mean,
to the
you're up.
view
I know
from the
you're
street? You're up, but if you were to continue it as solid up to 42 inches, it's, even though it feels very open as you're standing and looking out, it's a fairly protected from somebody at grade, right? If they're
Yeah.
scaling the wall,
Well,
It's
or
not.
one of the high rises.
or from high rises, that's.
I mean, there's things you can't do, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah, no, it would be again, part of that broader question, right? What's the balance between needing security, feeling secure, and wanting it to remain open to both city and lake?
Yeah, I mean, cause the view is one of our favorite things about the building. Yeah. Thanks.
Any questions on that, sir? They were good question.
When you show that floor, going down the floors from the sanctuary to go to the bathrooms, that seems like a very long distance.
Maybe somebody was gonna bust us.
Who's way over there, and the sanctuary is at the front, and that's a long distance.
Yeah.
That
courtyard should be.
It's not that different from what we have said.
Yeah, it's a smaller building, so it just seems.
Oh, I'm sorry, just for this as a man. So for those online, the question or comment was just about some things like distance to bathrooms. Those are sort of even big, but also very small comments that we want to hear. No comment too small or too nuanced. If something strikes you later of a thought, please email them. Because yeah, we want to know all those little things and big things, from security to bathrooms, right, and everything in between, right? Yes.
Is there a thought of incorporating the other stained glass that we have here?
You have a lot of beautiful artwork. I think we would wanna talk with whoever the planning committee was, to say, hey, what is it that we want to carry over? Definitely what might work. You know, we have other places in the plan that things can be utilized and displayed. Certainly stained glass facing the lake. somewhere in that gallery space, kind of around the corner, would possibly work. So. Yes, we thought about that, but it didn't show up in any of these views.
Originally, my question was, Florida handicap person to get out of the car. So I'm guessing at the second level, if they would get up there. My second question is, from start to finish, how long did this project take?
I'll answer that.
So
question.
two very different questions. One, the first
Say,
was
Be alive.
for folks online, it was a question about ADA accessibility and so the answer is if you're coming to the site to be dropped off, the ramp comes up to the carport at the second level, which is the entrance to the synagogue. So you would get out right there. The second question of how long do things take to be built? The oversimplified answer is typically buildings take 2 years to be built. There is a more complicated answer, which is what else is being built on the site and what is the phasing of construction? Are you first? Are you in the middle? Are you last? We're also looking at temporary synagogue logistics for the period when you're under construction. Where do you go? How can we come up with solutions elsewhere on the site to keep you in the neighborhood while you're under construction, maybe on a temporary basis? And again, all part of this, the kind of the next phase, which is what else is happening around you? And a big piece of that is the logistics of construction. But once you break ground on your site, it's under construction for a year or two.
If you have a drop off, and then you wanna go park your car, sort of enters the parking lot up there, or you have to come down and swing into front. Okay, what happens when you get a line up? So I'll say our next question. Thorndale, the returning right to the left, and you have to enter the parking lot. How are you gonna make sure that there's not a long line of cars? Like during high hours?
Yeah, so the question was just around parking logistics, getting to the site for drop off and or then parking.
Yeah.
So let's assume you're taking someone who needs to be dropped off at the front door and then you're going down and parking your car. And so in that event, again, you come up, drop off at the second level, go back down, the radius is enough where you would just make that left-hand U-turn. And then drive underneath the project to park on the ground floor. In terms of queuing, the capacity of the site, I think that's actually this design of having an internal courtyard. Again, a little bit of the problem is you lose a sense of scale of how big these areas are. So your synagogue is 200 feet from Sheridan Road, right? Before you even hit the western wall of the synagogue, the amount of cars that could stack in 200 feet, then turning up the ramp, then around, relative to what you have today, it's, almost 200 feet of kind of stacking queuing. That would be an unbelievable amount of people to come to the site at the same time. So I think it actually affords an extremely gracious, sequence. And again, that's only front of house drop offs. That's assuming someone's coming to only come and drop somebody off and then leave. That's a pretty quick turnaround versus someone who is coming and parking in the site on the ground floor and taking the elevator up, which they wouldn't even come to the courtyard in that scenario. So. But like a logistics, we could study that and sort of make assumptions in terms of, here's how many cars physically fit from Sheridan Road up until the front door. If the average car is staying there 30 seconds, how many cars have to show up at the same time for that to back up all the way to Thorndale? I think statistically would prove pretty Probably only in the high holidays if everyone's showing up 15 minutes before an event.
But we won't have enough parking for everybody, so we would still do buses on.
Yeah.
And we've used the van service thing and the buses would turn around and. You know,
In back, yes.
I'm sorry, I may have missed this, sort of a guy, really, but what sort of security is there for the underground parking project? This meaning, putting an underground parking underneath the shoal in this day and age is begging for trouble.
So we can study that. We assume that the parking underneath the synagogue would be private parking for just the synagogue. So gated access, it could be a full garage door that drops, that's a key card access only, or you have to be buzzed in by the front desk. I don't think we envision any scenario where the parking directly underneath the building isn't fully secured for the synagogue. How exactly that ends up getting configured, we haven't studied it, need to eventually, but conceptually, we would not want the general public to have access underneath the synagogue or on the parking lot. Any other questions? That's fine. So it's just after 7, we did pretty well for time. Do you want me to look and see if there's any online questions, just a few maybe that we didn't cover, just in case there may be some, I see some of the faces of your members here.
Deborah had her hand up for a while.
Yeah. We can't hear them, so if you want to put a question into the Q&A, I can read the question out.
Where's the Q&A? Just chat.
You wanna switch to the.
Talking about the chat room?
Yeah, to
Click
your-
the chat button in Zoom and you will be able to ask questions.
Oh, that's a chat. I've asked questions and there's
Yes,
a lot.
yeah, so hopefully pretty simple, Edgewater at Fern Company. And then I will go to the Zoom and.
So are they not taking any questions from?
I will start just because there's been a lot of.
They can't hear us.
At 6:50 PM, which is when our video feed shut off and we turn back on. So if you want to re-enter your question. Okay, so Kim asked, just curious, what is the current zoning for this build out as it relates to height of the building? So the synagogue is currently zoned, I believe, RS1. It is sort of a arbitrary zoning that doesn't even conform to the existing structure. So the synagogue's redevelopment alone is going to trigger a change to the zoning. And again, the other piece of what's to come next is talking about other non-synagogue uses. And we'll have to talk about, you know, what zoning options are or may be appropriate for that. Does Marlene asked, does the car radius allow for a bus to turn around? I don't think so.
Not yet, it doesn't. Is that good?
That was the right answer.
Yeah, actually, that was something that as we were developing plans, it came up in a meeting 1 or 2 weeks ago that we had with the planning group, real estate. I said, hey, we have buses. I'm like, okay, well, we know that is a criteria now, so going forward. And Nick was saying that we've got an awful lot relative to parking, service and how that is internally done. To solve, so we'll add that in the program for the next go.
And also whether it's a bus or a garbage truck, those higher clearance vehicles, that will, you know, be coming off the back of the building in an area that has a much higher ground floor clearance, so that, again, whether it's a bus or garbage or delivery, they can come in and do a turnaround on site on the backside. Looking at questions. How many parking spaces are envisioned, from Stephen? So at minimum 40, so the synagogue will not lose less than, you have today. But we'll look at ways of just how the space can accommodate more. 40, at minimum 40. Here's a good question from Emily. I'm glad she asked this. So how will the synagogue afford this? If there isn't additional development on the site? Well, if nothing else is built, it's a full fundraise to build this, right, from the membership. That is sort of the important piece of the next process is what else can fit and be incorporated into the site to create that value for the synagogue. And that the creation of that value for non-synagogue functions is what then raises the capital to reinvest into to build a new building. So you'll see that as we move forward on the next phases of this, that sort of puzzle piece of what gets built, how dense the project is, and the value of that, we'll talk about openly with the synagogue members and also the community at large. There was a comment about maybe concerned about how steep the incline is for the car ramp coming up in the renderings. A comment to include a family or gender neutral bathroom. One question from Liz, will this become a planned development? Yes, this will be a planned development, which is a zoning process for sites that are of this scale and size. It technically triggers public meeting, plan commission presentations, formally traveling through city council, with heavy aldermanic oversight, with review by city department staff, both Department of Transportation, planning, housing, disabilities. It's the full process. So this will be a highly vetted process called the plan development. Do you envision the possibility of commercial or residential space in a building to the west of where the synagogue is? You said there's a lot of site available, but it looks like the current plan goes all the way to the north end. So I'm particularly excited for this next phase because it is going to study different options for what can fit to the west of the synagogue between Sheridan Road and the synagogue. Again, it's 200 feet to the road from where the synagogue is building. And so there is some area to the north, there is some area to the west. And we could also look at, can we support any residential above the synagogue or not? Is it a standalone structure? Is it a mixed use structure? We will be presenting all of those sort of scenarios in massing, just in concept as part of the next phase of talking about how we create that value and where it goes. From Kevin, who lives at Thorndale Beach North, are you concerned about the southbound traffic turning into the synagogue posing issues for those intending to turn the next building to allow for ease of traffic? That's a great question. As part of the plan development process, we will have to work hand in glove with the Department of Transportation. It will be on the development team to engage a formal traffic study and look at the traffic patterns. The one thing I will say is, if you look at the current configuration of the synagogue's access to the north, right? Right now, somebody taking that left-hand turn is not into the site traveling south on Sheridan. They're making that left-hand turn, right, crossing over northbound traffic that doesn't necessarily stop. And so you have to turn left somewhere if you're coming from the north. And so the question is it better to do that not at a signalized intersection or to do it at the intersection? Because if at the intersection, then with CDOT, we can look at, well, should we add a left-hand turn phase for 10 seconds, 15 seconds? Should we look at other solutions with the bus stop traffic? Again, we'll have a very holistic look at the traffic patterns of the neighborhood, really outside of just the narrow focus of the synagogue, but it is a great opportunity to sort of hit the reset button and help alleviate some of the traffic issues in the neighborhood. So all of that to come. And Kevin asked, what do you expect to be the effect on traffic and the roads during construction? What I'll also say is there are software programs that model traffic, so you'll be able to see, they basically go out and they count how many cars go north, south, turn, they count pedestrian crossings at every intersection around the site. And then what the traffic engineers do is they tweak assumptions, like what if we added a signalized turn here? What if we added a dedicated bus stop lane? And the synchro model shows you visually how that changes the traffic with the same amount of traffic coming in and out. And you'll be able to see both with the eye, but also quantify the changes to traffic. So it's extremely scientific what we'll go through. But it's kind of fun because you're really directly addressing problems and trying to make it better. How will the congregation be included in discussions? Will there be more meetings, smaller group discussions? How will we involve the greater community? Their input may be invaluable to settling on the best plan. So I could not agree more. I think we want to run a process that is collaborative with the community. A big piece of that is hopefully being acknowledged by the fact that this congregation conversation is actually being had publicly. That the membership is sort of seeing all of these things for the first time as the general public is seeing them, because we want that feedback. Our development team is process, and we look forward to engaging with the community leaders and leadership that are here, many who we've met, but many who we have not met because we're just at the start of the process. So there will be more meetings and many more discussions to come.
Nick, you could mention also about our building committee. We have the synagogue has a building committee. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Sure, you wanna no. Andrew wanted to also mention that there's a building committee that is sort of reviewing and vetting a lot of these things in detail. So to make sure we're staying on the right path. Where is security check-in desk?
If there is going to be one, it would be in that lobby space just inside the main entrance. We didn't show one because we hadn't had general discussion at this point in time. But we do work with synagogues that they have a security / concierge desk right there. Somebody that is pushing a button to let people in and has eyes on them and then asks them if they can help, direct them somewhere. So pretty common solution. We haven't shown one in the plan at this point.
And just to acknowledge another comment, from Jesse, saying that, in addition to a plan development, this would also trigger a lakefront protection ordinance review, which is sort of a belt and suspenders, oversight. Started or created actually, when Lake Point Tower, next to Navy Pier was built east of Lakeshore Drive, and the city sort of put it, even if you don't trigger a plan development, which triggers a review in public meetings, if you're in the lakefront protection zone, regardless of your zoning or change, you must go through a public process. It was just a way to protect a scrupulous developer from sort of pushing through an as of right project that didn't have any public review, right? So it's all about protecting the lakefront. So yes, both lakefront protection ordinance review and plan development will both be triggered. Last question I have, unless people are answer more, but someone also asked about solar panels, green roof space, which would be great comments.
Yeah, depending on how the massing or the rest of the development outside of Emanuel space goes. If there's nothing above, then that would be a decision that you all would make. That this is something that we definitely want to do. Obviously, if there's development that happens to be above Emanuel, it may be on a higher roof somewhere or another part of the property, but certainly good stewardship says that you explore that and try to fund it if you can. It provides value, certainly it provides social value, so definitely will be looked at.
So that was the last question, and so I think we can wrap this up. I want to thank everyone for being here and online. As a reminder, a recording of this video will be sent out through the Alderwoman's weekly blast. There will be a link included. And if for some reason you don't get it or don't see it, you can email edgewater@fernhillcompany.com or reach out to the synagogue and we'll make sure we get it to you or through your community group. So that concludes the meeting for tonight, but more to come and to be continued. So thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.